Now, I think to understand this whole development of Palestinian statehood, we need to look at the broader context in which this is taking place. Let's not forget that we're talking about Israel is a modern miracle of statehood. Since its creation in 1948, it has become a leading world economy. It has become a leader in the area of medicine, biomedicine and technology. It is the home, the world capital of startups, certainly in the IT and technology sectors. It's a leader in the area of security. And of course, the IDF and Israel's army and air force are leading in the world and providing much greatly valued security information to particularly the West in relation to developments in the Middle East. So Israel is, of course, the only true democracy in the Middle East. It is a beacon of democratic values. It's a country which is a Jewish state, but of which 20% are non-Jewish. It protects the rights of its minorities. It's not perfect by any means, and there are a lot of problems even within Israel. But nevertheless, it is a full, vibrant, democratic economy and the only one of its nature in the Middle East, despite the fact that it doesn't have significant oil and gas reserves, at least and not until recently. Now, a second aspect is, of course, Israel's military administration since 1967 in the West Bank. What is known as West Bank, known to the Jewish people as Judea and Samaria. These are the territories which Israel took control of in the 1967 Six-Day War, the West Bank, the Gaza Strip and the Golan Heights, and of course the Sinai, which was later transferred back to Egypt. Now, you know, we're all aware that this ongoing military administration of these territories is not satisfactory. It is not a long-term solution. Nobody wants to see the continuation of a situation in which a people, the Palestinian Arab people, are living effectively in the context of a military regime. Now, the Oslo process started in the early 1990s, created the impetus towards the development of Palestinian autonomy, and the area has been divided, the West Bank area has been divided into three areas. Part of the West Bank is fully controlled by the Palestinian Authority. Part of it is jointly controlled by Israeli and Palestinian authorities, and part of it is fully under the control of Israel still. So it's a real dog's breakfast, if you like, in the West Bank. The Palestinian Authority has control, as I say, over certain areas, but there are, of course, still major problems within the Palestinian territories. We do have an education system still based and proclamating hatred of Israel and the Jewish people. Largely financed by Europe and the West. There are problems of corruption, mismanagement of natural resources. And of course, there are allegations that Israel itself is withholding resources. It's a very complex situation. Now, the other complicating factor is the existence of the so-called Palestinian refugee camps. Since 1948, those Arab Palestinians who fled from what has now become Israel ended up in refugee camps which are run by the United Nations Works and Relief Agency, UNRWA. Now that several hundred thousand has developed now into second, third generation of 4 or 5 million Palestinian Arabs who are effectively stateless. A new generation, as I say, growing up in an education system which is based on, not on harmony, but on division. This is problematic. These are not true refugees under general international law, but are kept in this refugee system by this unique UNRWA system in the hope that one day they will return, which of course is unlikely to happen. Another complex aspect is the whole situation in Gaza, the rise to power of Hamas since Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005. Now, there has been a slight compromise between Hamas and Fatah and a unity government, but it remains problematic that Hamas is a terrorist organization and is becoming part of the Palestinian governance system. Hamas, of course, closely linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, we also see the dismal failure of the so-called Arab Spring, which everybody thought was going to lead to democracy in the Middle East, is only leading to the rise of Islamic fundamental jihad. We're seeing now the ISIS in Syria and Iraq, and the persecution of Christians and other minority groups throughout the Middle East. Of course, this has already been the case, but it's much more the case now under the rise of these fundamentalist jihadic regimes. So all of this puts another dimension to the idea of the creation of yet another Islamic state in the Middle East, which would be called Palestine.